So I wanted to have someone help me do the sermon tonight. And so I found this gem back in our quiet room, reading room, library, multi-purpose room for so many things that we use it for. And I want to name this doll Molly. Is that all right? Does she look like a Molly? She looks like a Molly. She could be a Molly. All right, and Molly's going to help me because how many of you are familiar with CPR? Any of you familiar with CPR? Molly, I find her unconscious. She's literally not breathing right now. She's not breathing. What do you do when you find somebody who's not breathing on the ground? What do you do? She's not breathing. What do you do? Is he call 911? Yes. My understanding, and so I'm going to appeal to, I'm looking at the nurse folks. Are you okay, right? Is that the first step? Right? Are you okay? Are you okay, right? And not part of it. Are you okay? Are you okay, right? Are you okay? Hey, that's not with a baby. No. Right? Are you okay, right? The first thing that we do when we find somebody who's down and out is ask them, are you okay? This time of Lent, these 40 days that we have been given, are a time to ask ourselves, are you okay? Are you okay? Molly looks a little bit like me, and I look a little bit like God, right? God created us in His image. Are we okay? Right? To remember that we are made in the image of God. Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? And then what do I do? Wait, well, I gotta make a phone call, right? So I'm gonna go get help, right? So, like, Doug, go call 911 right now, right? Don't literally go call 911. No. And get the AED, right? So, and then you check for breathing, right? Right? So you listen for breathing, right? You put your face there, and I don't know if they've changed CPR since when I took this training, but you look for something in the airway, right?
No, you look,
listen, and feel.
You don't do that.
Oh, okay. So we're gonna have to go old school training. So don't actually do this in CPR because this works better for me to teach about creation and Lent and Molly. So this may make all the medical people grimace. What I was taught was you look, right? So this time of Lent is to ask ourselves and to ask each other, are you okay? Like, how are you doing as God's creation? Are you struggling? Are you okay? Are you breathing? Is your heart still going, right? How is your relationship with God? Like, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? And then to look in the airway and see if there's anything stuck. Are there obstacles that are keeping breath from going in, right? Are there things that are getting stuck in our airways? And they used to teach you and try to get it out. Now, I guess they don't. They don't want novices sticking their fingers in strangers' mouths, probably for good reason. But are you okay? Are there things in this time, these 40 days, that are standing in between us and God, that are keeping us from getting this breath? Because the cool thing about the Spirit that we just got to hear from a creation, the word for Spirit is ruha in Hebrew, right? The word for breath in Hebrew is ruha, right? It's the same word. Breath and spirit and wind and air, they're the same word for our creation story. So are there things that are in our lives that are keeping us literally from getting God's breath, right? Because we're made from earth, right? The second creation story, God scoops us up and makes us from the clay of the ground, the earth that is, and we got to hear it so many times, the earth that is good. And God breathes God's breath into it. And God into our mouths. And so are there things that are kind of getting at us in this time of the 40 days? So are we okay, right? And if we find that we're not okay, what's in the way that we can, right, and get in and make it so that God's breath, God's spirit, God's lungs can breathe life into who we are, created in God's image. Kind of like Molly, right? That we're creating God's image. And so what's keeping us from getting that spirit, right? That breath, that life that just lives and breathes and goes we getting the Spirit? And if God is breathing into us, how is our heart working? Right? Because every breath of life that we have is a gift from God. And so how do we use the time that we're given and this place that we're given it to live out God's love that God has bestowed on us? Because the cool thing about Molly's made of cotton and fluff, right? And that's pretty nifty, and I like cotton and fluff. But earlier somebody saw me bring this in. This is the stuff we're made out of, right? From creation. It's dirt, right? This is the stuff that we're made of. And in the creation story, we hear about how God scoops us up and molds us and then breathes the breath of life in us. Or if you want to think about our parents who ate corn that came out of the ground, that was this stuff, right? And that fed us, and that fed our parents, and that made us, and that, like, this is who we are. And so God took good earth, right? This is good earth. Everything that God made in creation is good. God took this good earth and then breathed into us God's own breath. So we are made of the best stuff possible. We're made of good earth, of good creation, and more so, unlike any other living thing, have this breath, the Spirit of God, breathed into our lungs. And so in this time of Lent, to remember that we are God's creation, that like Molly and me and you and all of y'all, right? That's the southern portal for everybody in the whole world. All y'all are made in the image of God. That you have the breath of God breathed into your lungs. And that every day, every moment that we get to breathe is a gift of God to live out that love from our hearts. And so how do we do it? Are there obstacles in the way that we need to kind of remove? Are there things that are blocking us from getting the air that we need to breathe, to live out this love? And so we get 40 days. We get 40 days to ask these questions and to live out who we are as God's creation, created